Your body still runs 50,000-year-old threat software. Ancient humans faced predators, famine, and darkness every single night. And somehow, they slept. No locks, no walls, no soft blue glow from a phone telling you the world is still there. Just your pulse, the wind, the crack of a branch somewhere beyond the fire. So what did that do to a human mind? And if this feeling is that old, why does it seem to hit so much harder now? Your nervous system has a reset mechanism built directly into your muscles. Ignore that. And your body keeps carrying a charge it was built to discharge. It sits in your chest, your jaw, your gut. Use it, and something changes. After hours of carrying, climbing, digging, chasing, you don't calm down by thinking differently. You calm down because your body finally believes the danger has passed. But most people never trigger it. Ancient humans triggered it every single day without trying. And researchers studying present-day forager groups think that gap explains a lot about why anxiety feels so much harder to shake now. But physical exhaustion only empties the body. It does nothing for the fear still talking once the fire goes quiet. Sitting around a fire drops your cortisol measurably within minutes. But most people assume that's just warmth and rest doing the work. You're listening to one person retell the day's hunt. Not perfectly. Better than that. The boar grows larger, the escape narrower, the lucky mistake funnier. People laugh, they lean in. A bad memory gets edges, order, and ending. And that's the part your nervous system cares about. Chaos becomes sequence. Threat becomes story. The story being told is doing just as much, maybe more, because narrative gives the brain a container for threat it can't otherwise process. For context, psychologists use a phrase for this: narrative coherence. It means events stop arriving as loose fragments and start fitting into a chain of cause, action, and result. That shift matters because the brain hates unfinished danger. A rustle in the dark with no explanation can stay alive in the body for hours. A retold event with a beginning, a turn, and a clear outcome becomes something else, something filed away. And early humans appear to have done this constantly. Anthropologists working with recent forager societies have long noticed that evenings are packed with talk, imitation, teasing, memory, and myth. Not dead silence. Not everybody staring into the flames like they're in a moody perfume ad. You can reconstruct the scene pretty easily. Faces lit from below, hands moving in the air, someone interrupts to correct a detail, someone else makes it funnier. Children hear the same patterns again and again. What startled us? What saved us? Who did what? Where not to sleep? Which sound mattered? That is entertainment, yes. It is also rehearsal. A story about danger lets you revisit fear without being inside the fear. You feel the spike in a safer setting. You follow it to an ending. You do that enough times, and the mind starts learning a crucial distinction. Alarm is not the same thing as catastrophe. Except a story can calm you and still leave you helpless, unless it follows a pattern your body can trust. Ancient humans repeated the same movements, sounds, and sequences every single day before doing anything dangerous. But most people assume ritual is about belief, about gods, about superstition. What we typically see across cultures and across time is simpler than that. Before a hunt, a crossing, a birth, people do the same thing in the same order. Hands wash, voices join, feet stamp, not because the world changes, but because the body does. Repetition turns waiting into action. The evidence points somewhere colder and more useful. Ritual is a control mechanism your nervous system built before language existed, and we can see that pattern far back in the record. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, people were engraving repeated cross-hatched designs roughly 75,000 years ago. At Kafze in Israel, burials include red ochre placed with care, not tossed in by accident. Later sites add beads, pigments, arranged objects. Different places, different people. Same stubborn habit, sequence matters. That matters because anxiety hates open loops. A hunt can fail, a labor can go wrong, a river can rise anyway. Ritual gives you a script when the outcome won't cooperate. First this, then this, then this. The danger is still there, but uncertainty gets narrowed into steps your body can actually perform. You crouch by the fire before dawn. Someone grinds pigment. Someone ties the same knot the same way. Someone speaks a line everyone already knows. Nothing magical has happened. Your pulse still lifts. Your mouth is still dry. But the panic has been given a lane to run in. Anthropologists have noticed this in small-scale societies for a long time. The more risk, the more formalized the behavior around it. Not random behavior. Ordered behavior. Fishing in calm water needs less ceremony than heading into storms. Fairly reasonable, honestly. Ritual did not remove fear. It organized it. And that is a very different thing when your life depends on steady hands. But ordered behavior breaks fast when fear hits and no familiar eyes are there to steady you. Your brain tags every fear with a label the moment you name it. Without that label, the threat stays shapeless. And shapeless fear is the hardest kind to survive. And here's the twist. Early humans may have named fear before they had words for it. Not with speech, with sound, gesture, and shared attention. A sharp inhale, a frozen hand. Eyes turned to the same darkness. The body points first. Language comes later. Ancient humans spent hundreds of thousands of years developing ways to contain the unnamed, and the ones who couldn't died before they could pass anything on. For context, infants still do this. Long before full speech, they point, stare, tense, and look to another face for meaning. Developmental psychologists call this joint attention, two minds locking onto the same thing. It is one of the oldest tools humans have, maybe older than words themselves. You hear a rustle in the brush. One person stops. Another follows their gaze. A third shifts closer to the fire. Nobody has explained anything. Nobody has to. The fear has already moved out of one body and into the group, where it can be watched, tested, and answered. That changes the feeling fast, because unnamed fear is worst when it traps you alone inside your own skull. Shared attention does the opposite. It turns private dread into a public object. Something over there. Something we can track. Something that either moves closer or doesn't. This matters a lot. Anthropologists who study small-scale societies keep finding rich systems of nonverbal warning. Posture, hand signs, clicks, whistles, silence used on purpose. Not decoration, not politeness. Survival tech, if you'll allow one slightly modern phrase. A bent knee can mean stop. A chin flick can mean look. A sudden stillness can mean predator, enemy, snake. In other words, the first names for fear may not have sounded like words at all. They may have looked like a body becoming legible to other bodies. A map drawn in muscle, breath, and attention. But if a body can pass fear without words, what happens when that signal stops warning you and starts carrying you somewhere else entirely? Trance isn't a belief system. It's a biological state, one your brain can be walked into with nothing but rhythm and repetition. So why does a steady beat change anything at all? Because prediction calms the brain. The next strike comes, then the next. Your breathing starts to match it. Your attention narrows. Less room for looping thoughts. In many foraging societies, drumming, chanting, and swaying did this together. Not entertainment, regulation. Ancient humans figured that out before they had a word for any of it. You feel it in the body first. Your jaw loosens, your shoulders drop. The pulse that was scanning the dark for danger gets recruited by the rhythm instead. Anthropologists have watched versions of this among the San, among Aboriginal Australian groups, among healing ceremonies in southern Africa where dancers move for hours around a fire until ordinary attention gives way to something narrower and stranger. Not blankness, not sleep, a different kind of focus. And here's the important part. In that state, pain changes. Time changes. The boundary between me and everyone around me gets less rigid. If anxiety traps you inside your own alarm system, that matters a lot because panic is isolating. Trance is collective. You are hearing the same beat as everyone else, stepping when they step, breathing in the same rough pattern. Your nervous system stops doing a private calculation and starts syncing to the group. Very old technology. No batteries required. There is also a chemical side to this. Repetition, exertion, and synchronized movement can shift stress signals and change how the brain handles threat. Not erase it, reorganize it. So a night of drumming is not some decorative extra added onto hard prehistoric life. It may have been one of the ways hard life became bearable. A method for taking raw fear, giving it tempo, and keeping it from turning inward when the dark was long and the mind had too much room to roam. The problem is, a state that quiets fear for a night can leave you exposed when the rhythm stops.